Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at the patch 6.01 patch notes for Final Fantasy XIV. Normally this is the first thing I'd post in a given patch day, but the servers came up like 90 minutes early, so I ended up posting all my normal mode playthroughs. The guides will be out hopefully by day's end or by the end of tomorrow. Either way, let's just look at the patch notes now and see if there's anything of note that you wouldn't notice when you first log into the game. Now, worth mentioning, these servers will not be up early on Savage's release day. It was honestly kind of surprising they did it on normal, but as long as it was after the weekly reset, it wasn't that surprising. But for Savage, the servers will be up when they say they're up or later, but never early. So just figured it was worth saying that since there's the reminder of Pandemonium Savage being in patch 6.05, which will be just at the beginning of January. Now that is the majority of patch 6.01's content, Chronicles of a New Era quest. I'm not going to say anything about these screenshots. Normally I would have a little quip before I've played, but again, I've already played them, so I'm not going to say anything. The quest will begin in Old Charlian at X9.6, Y11.9 at Namgigi, and then that will take you through all the remainders of these quests where they don't want to say too much about it, especially if you haven't actually done the main scenario just yet. Speaking of the main scenario, there is one quest in particular, In From the Cold, which those of you who know which quest that is will know that, well, it's kind of a pain. So they've made it so that if you do fail the mission and you choose the easy or very easy options, that certain effects will make it a bit easier to complete. Indomitable Spirit effects will be increased. The initial number of uses of the duty action has been increased, and to more easily locate certain items, the amount of fuel concealing wreckages in the area has been increased. Yeah, that quest, a lot of fun. If you haven't done it yet, don't worry, I won't say anything else, but this is just going to make it easier for people who do fail it the first time. Now, as for housing, some people thought today was going to be Ishgard housing. No, that is 6.1. This is 6.01. You won't see Ishgard housing for another 4 months or so, approximately. All that happened here is new Orchestrion roles being added. Nothing fancy there. New Triple Triad cards as well. Both of these usually coincide with normal mode raid releases. Sometimes even Savage mode has their own Orchestrion roles, but those are just all those are. Speaking of which, the new raid dungeon Pandemonium as Fidelos has been added. You will need to be an average item level of 565 or higher to enter, and it will be unlocked through that Chronicles of a New Era quest that we were going through earlier in the video. Players can queue solo via the Duty Finder after unlocking the raid as well. Sorry, cutting the video, had a big sneeze come through. As for the rewards, I made a whole video explaining how this works, so I'm not going to dive into this at all. It's pretty much exactly what I said in my Pandemonium loot video. Doesn't seem like they've changed anything. The only thing I kind of got wrong is in the previous raid tier in Eden, it was a bangle, and this time it's a ring. Not that big of a deal. It doesn't really matter. But everything else is otherwise the same as I described it there. So those will be able to be gotten from Myleni in Labyrinthos or Yol in Rad's at Hand. Either of those locations will be possible to obtain or exchange these items for the actual item level 580 gear that you get from normal mode. On top of that, same thing here, there's an Unsung Blade. You get one of those per week, and then with 7 of those, you can earn a Discal Tombstone, which is going to be used for weapons that will become obtainable in patch 6.05 and beyond, which it does, again, make mention of right here with the Allegan Tombstones of Astronomy. So all that stuff in my loot video, completely relevant, completely accurate, minus a few naming conventions, but that's about it. Now, this is a reminder, the number of tombstones required for weapons exchange was reduced from 1,000 to 500. They actually mentioned this in a live letter, but basically astronomy weapons used to cost 1,000 tomes worth of items in order to actually make them. That cost has been cut in half, so the value of getting an astronomy weapon on week 2 if you're doing casual raiding is very, very high if you can get access to a Discal Tombstone through the second fight on the Savage difficulty, and even better if you can get access to a dip from the third fight. Now, on top of that, Duty Roulette Mentor and Duty Roulette Normal raids have been updated to include all of the new As Fidelos raids, and as with any Mentor Roulette update, you will now need the minimum item level to queue into all of As Fidelos in order to use the Mentor Roulette. As Fidelos was also added to Stone Sky Sea, in case you want to see if you have the DPS. It's a normal mode, so the DPS check is very, very lenient on those Stone Sky Sea dummies. Now, 2 really big changes, one of which I've already tested. Experience points earned by completing level 81 to 89 dungeons has been increased, and experience points earned from completing junior, associate, and senior guildship mark bills has been increased. These are the hunt bills from levels 80 to 90, essentially. The buff is incredibly significant, about a 66% increase on the level 87 dungeon, and thus we can probably assume something close to that for the other dungeons as well. Where does this put dungeons in terms of leveling efficiency? Up there. Bozja, it's definitely a lot closer to, especially if you're in a pre-made. Trusts, now actually fairly viable to get trusts done via dungeon spam. It's, you know, just maybe about half a level per dungeon, maybe a little less, maybe even a little more, I don't know. So, yeah, pretty solid. If you like doing dungeons for leveling, they just got a whole lot better for you. And if you've wanted more of a reason to do the overworld hunts when you go to do them for leveling, the increase to those has also been significant. Now, I haven't compared it to the old values to give you a percentage like I did with dungeons, but really solid. There's not much more I can say about that. If you like doing them before, they're more useful now. And if you weren't doing them before, they're probably more valuable to you in the moment. Now, this gear is Savage gear, actually. This is Asphodelos Savage gear, as is indicated by the patch 6.05 indicator down here at the bottom. That should mean it's pretty close to what we have now in terms of appearance. So this is usually just the dyeable version right here of what we get from the raid. Maybe, unless this is the crafted gear, but I don't think it is. I'm pretty sure they told us during a live letter this is the Asphodelos gear, but I'd have to look back to be 100% sure. But either way, if this is the Asphodelos gear, they're showing us the Savage versions, which are dyeable. The normal mode versions are not dyeable. There's also a difference in item level as well. Item names were changed. Beet Soup, the item level 533 Beet Soup, now is Wine Dark Soup. Apparently, there was 2 different versions of Beet Soup, and they're just making sure that there is, that's no longer the case. New minions have been added. That happens most patches. Not much to say about that. New achievements have been added. Normal with new content. New trophies have been added to the PlayStation 5, although some of them can't be obtained until after 6.05 actually releases. New music. The volume of sound effects when successfully completing an action combo has been increased, I guess for an audio indicator. That's good. Broil 4 had its audio adjusted. I liked wonky Broil 4. It's okay. I'm sure I'll like normal Broil 4 also. Voice 4 for male VR has been adjusted. I heard people complaining about that. And players can now use the character renaming service even when the servers are heavily congested. However, the name generator will be unavailable. Okay. I mean, I don't take much note in that, I suppose. So then some resolved issues. This is the NPCs floating issue that sometimes happens when you're doing main scenario quests. This they made mention of before. The ability to trigger the quest for Gods of Eld, which is the Warring Triad quest from back in Heavensward, would disappear when you did the Endwalker main scenario. They fixed that, so that's no longer a problem. Undertaking the quest Morbid Motivation cut from a different cloth, wherein the completion of a level 80 dungeon did not count towards the progression. Okay. Let's see. And this would undertaking the quest Seeking Inspiration, where completion of level 81 to 89 did not count towards progression. Okay. Ixal daily quests were requiring belts. Of course, that's way better. Because you can't make belts anymore, so that was, I'm sure, not very fortuitous. Battle of Catching Black Satori, where the HP of the tunnel armor was incorrect. I'm assuming is that it was too low more than anything else. Sacks of nuts not dropping when you get when you do the guild ship mark bills in the 80 to 90 areas. They fixed that. Certain fates in Thavnir were casting more frequently than they were supposed to. Number of cartridges. This is like a syncing issue with Gunbreaker's powder gauge. This is Hollow Nizuchi interrupting Forked and Fleeting Raiju. This they made specific mention they were going to fix in a previous patch. And then there's a bunch of text issues. Basically, all these actions were working correctly, but the text to describe them was all slightly off, whether they be PvE or PvP actions. But they're just fixing text more than anything else. Graphics for the hairstyle both ways displayed incorrect under certain conditions. The use of dye did not apply to Paladin Chevalier gear. Okay. Job specific introduced in 6.0 did not include item level and attributes synced to current job level in their descriptions. Okay. An issue in the last area where the enemies had fates would attack players even under the effect of sneak. I had someone tell me that happened. Same with the nuts issue. I saw some people tell me that had happened to them. And I was just like, that's weird. I'm sure it was something else. No, it was a bug. It was in fact a bug. Studium Deliveries, players were granted experience points when crafting items required for quest progression. That makes it sound like they were getting too much EXP. Rarefield Integral Fishing Rod were incorrect. The materials were. Certain potions restored more HP than intended under certain conditions. The sale price of these materia were incorrect. Weird. Sale price of items displayed incorrectly when toggling the display of high quality versus low quality. Lords of Verminion. Not displaying high enough attack and potencies. Okay, interesting. More Lords of... Okay, just random Lords of Verminion bugs, I suppose. Viewing the credits, players were forcibly disconnected due to inactivity. Yeah, I've seen a few people say that happened. An issue when playing the opening movie for Endwalker where audio channels are switched. This was a PlayStation 4 or 5 issue. Logitech Pro 50mm under sound settings did not affect audio quality. An issue where enabling immersive spatial audio prevented sound effects from playing under certain conditions. Thankfully, that didn't happen to me. And an issue where sounds do not play correctly in certain conditions. I've heard a few people have some issues with that, but they go into a whole spiel about it here. Other minor text issues, and probably the most important issue in the entirety of the patch notes, an issue wherein the polygon count of grapes in Labyrinthos were reduced in excess to alleviate system memory usage in the area. They have been adjusted to be comparable to those found at the Crystarium. We've saved the grapes. The grapes were low poly, now they're high poly. I never thought the day would come, but you know what? Square Enix, they have the technology, they have the means, and you know what? They have the goddamn will to fix those grapes. But anyway, that's going to be it for the patch 6.01 patch note reading. Nothing too fancy. The 6.05 ones will A, come up on time, and B, yield some other interesting information, especially job-related changes. We don't normally see too much in 0.01 because they haven't had time to properly collect feedback and make changes. So 0.05 will have some job changes, normally buffs, and 6.1 will usually have more major job changes. So keep an eye out for those in the near future. Anyway, I've got 4 normal mode guides to get working on, so I'm going to go do that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, take care.